Good morning, friends, wherever you might be. Welcome to Cichlids and Coffee. And I didn't dare be late after the earful you gave me last week. Oh, I had it coming. Well, welcome everybody, wherever you are. I know we have some folks on here from. I think I saw Scotland. Let me see here. Welcome, Brian. And some folks, I think, are answering your question about tank mates for African cichlids. I've only had African cichlids with African cichlids. I did have a bushy-nosed pleco that seemed to do okay, and they tended to ignore them. And I did have a while back. I did have some clown loaches that did well. They did really well, even though they are from a lot softer water. So just something to keep in mind as Tyler was talking about, a lot of moving parts, a lot of factors to keep in mind. And hello, Tyler, and hello, Cat Sailor, and hey, Paul, glad you're here. And Don Gallagher's here, and Mark McQuaid, and that's my friend from Scotland, Windshaw, in Bonnie, Scotland. Wow, that's awesome. And Frank is giving us all a blessing from Puerto Rico. And hello, Frank. Good to have you here, my friend. Un placer. In the jeans, good morning to you. And George Fernandez is here. Peas and haps forever. Sounds like a tattoo. You know, peas and haps forever. Oh, Army Aquatics is here. And hello, Army Aquatics. Paul. Hey, Paul. Good to have you here, buddy. And Daniel Lopez and Army Aquatics starting a web series called There's Something About a Fish. Well, I'd agree. There is something about a fish. And hey, John Wallace, one of my moderators, is here. Thank you, John, for your help today. And I think Denny is not going to be here because he's got a family commitment. So we gave Denny the day off. And so I thank you, John, for being here. And Army Aquatics, how fish help mental health issues. There is actual research on that, and heart rate, blood pressure, right, stress. A lot of folks are helped with PTSD with aquariums, right? So let's see here. Hey, Neil's here. Amber Key. Hey, Amber. Good to see you. Ken's here, and Thomas. Paul Bowen's here. Hey, Paul. Good you're here. Hey, Denny, you are here. I didn't think you were going to make it. Lunch date got canceled to Sunday. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hey, GP, another one of the moderators, and Z-Zip is here, and Medno, and I gotta end off here. Sound, audio are good. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And all right. Excellent. So let's go ahead and officially start this live stream. What do you say? If you're new to the channel and you feel like you get something out of these live streams and some of the content, be sure to hit that sub button and that notification bell. It really helps the channel to keep on growing. And those of you who'd like to support the channel, certainly consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon memberships start as low as $3 a month, and every little bit helps. And we have a great group of Patreon members currently, and I'll be giving them a shout out later on. But also use the Amazon link to get to Amazon for any of your Amazon needs, not just from my store. It helps the channel when you use the link to get there. And pick up some t-shirts and coffee mugs and stuff over at Teespring. And of course, hit that sub button. That's the end of today's commercial. So quick shout out, however, to the Cichlid Shack, and a big thank you for their support. If you want not just African cichlids, he's into everything now. He's got everything there. He's got plecos and community fish and nano fish, you name it. Plants, good plant selection. Go there, and if your order's over $100 in fish, you can get 15% off using Shack Attack 15. And but for any order, whether you want to get some extreme food or some plants or whatever, and you're under $100, use Shack Attack 10. You'll get a 10% discount. So a big shout out to James Largo over at the Cichlids Shack. Let's go back here and turn that intro video off. So, welcome, those of you who have just jumped on. And today's topic is a look at the, if anyone who keeps fish, you've got some pretty high highs, right? And you can also have some pretty low lows. And so today I'm going to look back on 2021 at some of the, I think I'll get the lows. We'll get the lows out of the way first, and then we'll get into the highs, and just sort of work our way towards the highest high point of the year for me, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future, about what I'd like to see occur in the fish room, and also with the channel in general, like where it's going, and certainly as we go along, your input, your ideas, your suggestions, I do take those to heart, and especially in areas where I myself am sort of pioneering, like in the area of South and Central American community tanks, planted tanks. This is we're reversing it now. Now I'm listening to you. You're gonna you're gonna mentor me through this now. So. Thank you to all of you who have been helping me and helping me along with some of my decisions and making suggestions on fish. Let's go ahead and jump into, me, I like lists. I've got a big list here. Just a huge, look at this thing. That's just page one. Can you see it? I hope you could see it. And let's talk a little bit about some of the bad things that happened, and the worst of 21, and then I'll get into the best of 21, and probably the worst, going from probably the least worst to the worst. I'm butchering the language here, but working our way towards that. But if I had to list them out, there was a sort of a kind of a limbo period. There was kind of an odd period when I first arrived here in Nashville, and I didn't have the lay of the land, and I had no tanks. It was very strange to be a fish keeper, which I consider myself a fish keeper, and very much dedicated to the hobby, and a YouTube content creator, and to be without tanks and without fish. I had nothing. I left it all in California. And so I arrived here, and it was kind of an odd, just sort of an odd period. There was a certain freedom to it, It's like there was no water changes, no nothing. But at the same time, I really, really missed it. And so being without tanks and without fish, that was certainly a bit of a downer. And then once getting fish, once getting tanks established and getting fish, some of the things that can happen, of course, when you're starting to establish tanks, getting them mature and seasoned, is that you do experience some fish die off, some deaths. It happens from time to time. And it certainly happened for me, and it happened for a variety of reasons. One was I ran into some very serious peacock aggression initially. Putting too many peacocks into that 55 behind me here resulted in a bit of a battle royale, and I lost several of them to just outright death. Just outright being beaten to death, and some of them to the stress that resulted from that. And so that was a little tough sort of transition there, moving a little bit too too soon, too fast. You know, trying to do too much, too fast, too soon, and then also, of course, the setback that I had with the 90-gallon, where I made the mistake of servicing, you know, a rookie mistake really, of doing too much work on the filtration and a water change before the bacteria had really had a chance to settle and mature in the deep substrate. If you're gonna use a deep substrate like I do in my tanks, and count on that to be the home of beneficial bacteria, you do have to give it several months to mature. And I got ahead of myself. I thought I had a pretty well established substrate base, and so that I had a little bit of a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of you know, a little bit of forgiveness in there, and I made it was a fatal mistake. I ended up with what I looking back on can only really be an ammonia spike, a momentary ammonia spike until the bacteria caught up, but an ammonia spike that cost me my Paratilapia pollini, which I love that fish, a Paratilapia pollini, that was beautiful dots, white and blue dots, just a gorgeous fish, and was getting big and beautiful, the shape, the finnage. I had a wonderful red spotted Severum, you know, red spotted gold Severum. One of my Hecali, I lost one of the Viejas. I mean, it was just a mess. It was just a mess, and that's got to be right there in one of the lows of the year, and you know, it was a real takeaway. A real takeaway. I'm still gun shy. I mean, I still, when I do any kind of major work, I'm conditioning the heck out of the tank, and it really kind of moved me in the direction of being a little bit more conservative, even though now I'm pretty sure that I have some pretty strong and pretty well established colonies of bacteria in the beneficial bacteria, or in the substrate rather. Still, I tread lightly. I don't do too much at a time, and like this last weekend, I had to service the hang-on backs on the 90-gallon. There's 2 hang-on backs on there. I only serviced one, and I did a very small little water change. You know, like just pulled a little bit of water out of there, just so that I can put my hand in there and clean up the glass a little bit without overflowing the tank. But so anyway, it was a learning process, and I definitely had some takeaways from that. So the fish death, the one that occurred, I mean, certainly having to deal with cichlid aggression and the craziness that sometimes African cichlids get into. I mean, that's almost understandable, and it's one of those roll of the dices that that I understand. The mistake that I made in the servicing, that's the hardest one, because that was entirely preventable and is entirely on me. And the other thing that occurred in 2021 that was very difficult for me for a variety of reasons was, of course, stepping away from content creation and being in communication with you, in touch with you, after my bike accident. That was, I mean, you never planned for that kind of thing, right? And I'm still sore, and look how long it's been, right? My right wrist, my right hand, my shoulders are still a little bit. I'm a lot better, way better, but you know, there was a moment there where because taking care of aquariums is labor intensive, and it was very difficult to lift anything, and really to move, get out of bed was difficult, and so. I mean, there were some serious things going through my head. Like, am I going to be able to maintain the tanks? Am I, you know, when you're right in the middle of it, you're thinking of all the. So that was definitely a low in the year, and we get through these so we don't get too depressed. So let's talk a little bit about the positives, because the positives, the pluses, far outnumbered the negatives, as major as the negatives were, and uh, they were the pluses far outweighed the negatives. And certainly getting tanks established and getting them to the point where they are mature and able to support life. Look at that trout! Oh my God, able to support life and not just support it, but actually have it thrive. As you can see, some of these. Look at this Lethrinops oculatus, little shy. What amazing color! But anyway, having the tanks mature and sort of get into the groove, right, where you feel confident that it's right, and certainly having the tank settle down with regards to aggression, that is a major breakthrough, and it took. I mean, think about it. It took almost an entire year to move the pieces around, right? Move all the parts, move the fish around, to get to a point where there was relative calm, with the understanding, with the knowledge that could end at any moment, right? This little living stone eye could lose those markings and go all blue again. The Venusis could suddenly lose his mind. I mean, who knows, right? Fortunately, right now, as I mentioned in the video during the week, is I've got that Autopharynx tetrastigma, who is kind of keeping people in line. There's the Venusis. Just a beautiful fish. But the Autopharynx tetrastigma is being the boss, and he is a very, very calm boss. The eye biter is behaving. Spectabilis just hangs on the top. Here comes the Autopharynx tetrastigma. Come on, over here. Call him over like a dog. Here, buddy. Anyway, he's hanging around the back. So, at any rate, getting aggression under control, major a milestone for 2021. I just hope it lasts. This kind of thing. You never know how long it's going to last. Doing my first drilled tank. This is a drilled tank. I'd never worked on a drilled tank before, and getting a drilled tank going is awesome. Was awesome. And looks like the guy across the street is warming up his car. I have a neighbor who has a Camaro, and he turns it on and goes inside for about an hour, and then he comes back out and drives off. I don't know. He got some idea that he has to warm his car up. Like, I think that's actually bad for your car when you do that. All right. Did my first drill tank and my first DIY sump, right? I actually took the plunge and said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to make my own sump. The theory, really, the idea of filtration is simply running water through something and then back to the tank. It's not that complicated. And so I saw Bulk Reef Supply advertising these very stiff media, like sponges, that could be cut to size. Bought some of those. Got a 3-inch thick matin, one of those porous sponges from Swiss Tropicals. Put it in between the two stiff Bulk Reef Supply sponges, and that's it. That's that. And I've got some filter media in there that I keep in there just so that it has beneficial bacteria and is ready to start up a tank. And as she say, pump that pumps 2,500 gallons an hour on a 29-gallon aquarium, and it's doing a great job with the help of an FX6 that is pre-filtered, so that I don't have to do hardly any maintenance on it, and the insides of it are almost entirely sponges. So I'm using sponge and deep substrate for beneficial bacteria primarily. Other plus points. I got a sign. The sign you see back here, that's from Vinny. Vinny's Aquatics. Check out Vinny's Aquatics, his channel. And very nice of him. Out of nowhere, he just said, Ben, you need a sign. And he made that sign for me. The bottom of it, the bottom ring, the white ring, lights up. But if I light it up, you're not going to be able to, it's just going to make everything dark because it's so bright. that the camera can't really adjust properly. But Vinny came through with a sign, and that was awesome to have a sign. I was thinking about something because you watch some of these YouTubers out there, and they have some kind of a neon thing in the background that's kind of a little out of focus and highlighted, and I was thinking about a sign, and Vinny appeared, and happens to be a very professional sign maker. And anyway, it was awesome, just awesome. Another great thing that happened in the year is I took the plunge and started Patreon. And let me show you this. These are sort of the founding Patreon members. And it was just so heartwarming to have people jump in and become Patreons. And this is a monthly commitment, like anywhere from $3 on up. And you get previews of videos, you get some content that I don't share anywhere else, like little private messages and stuff. And so starting a Patreon was a big deal in 2021, and it's helping me. It's actually helping me to do some things a little bit faster. Like I upgraded my phone so I have better video quality, because sometimes I do use my phone. Like when I visit aquarium stores, I don't like to have a lot of equipment because it's kind of, I don't know, it's distracting, and it's a little bit more discreet to just be in there with a telephone, right? And so I was able to get the upgrade to the iPhone, the Pro Max 13, and that is to a large degree because of the support from the Patreons. And so that really was awesome. I'll tell you, one of the major things that I think occurred in 2021 was the establishment of relationships. And I'll tell you, fish keeping has resulted in some great friendships. I'm in regular contact with Evan Alexander, IFG, just that wild man down in Texas. And if you don't know IFG's channel, check him out. You love him or you hate him, but anyway, he's become a good friend. And over at Aquashella, I had the pleasure of meeting Brandon, the blind fish keeper. I met Jerry Martin, who I consider a good friend and supporter of the channel. Just a wonderful guy. These are people that I consider good guys. You know, there's trolls out there, and there's people that are quick to criticize and find fault. But there are other folks out there that are very supportive, and if they have a suggestion, they know how to make it in a way that isn't an outright frontal attack, right? So I know I'm going to miss people, but Emin Fountain over in the UK, John Wallace, Frank over in Puerto Rico. I mean, these guys are friends. I consider these people friends. Joe over at Glass Cages, right? And now Todd, the co-owner. And of course, James Largo over at the Cichlid Shack, stepping up and becoming a sponsor of the channel and providing me with fish and helping out with aquariums. I mean, the guy is like he's like the patron saint of the channel. And Denny and the rest of my GP. I mean, so many friends that were strengthened or set up in 2021 because of fish keeping, because of the channel, anyway, just very, very positive, very, very positive. And certainly the establishing a relationship with the Cichlid Shack, that has to be one of the highlights of the year, to get a sponsor. And also the backup that I've received from other folks, Higer, JC&P, Underwater Galleries, the Aquarium Co-op. I mean, these folks have all been friends of the channel. And of course, getting into South and Central American cichlids, that to me has added a new layer to fish keeping that I just simply didn't have before. I've developed just a tremendous affinity, just a real love of these fish. I mean, I'm a diehard African cichlid guy, right? But these South Americans, I mean, watching the geos sift the sand, and watching those a big severum just kind of lumber around, and watching the viejas start to color up, those chocolate cichlids in the in the 55, watching him go from like brown to purple to white, and watching that Jack Dempsey go all black and then become all blue spots and green spots. I mean, it's just amazing. They're just an amazing type of fish. And I always had sort of a passing interest in them. And now I can say that, yeah, I'm in love with them, and we'll see where that goes at this point. And I guess I'm getting into the goals for 2022. At this point, I'm thinking this is going to remain, because it's so established now, and I've got the right kind of substrate. I've got the aragonite, I've got the crushed coral, and so I think I'm going to leave this as an African cichlid tank, and that 300 that's coming from glass cages, which I suspect and hope will be here by the middle of January. Just working out some details. Got to get the space ready. I got to get the electricity. I've got to get things ready. But I think that tank is going to be South American. So I'll have Viejas in there, Jack Dempsey's. I'll have the green terrors when they put on size. The Severums, right? They can get they can get big. They can get big, those Severums. So I think because the Jack Dempsey's that I got from Brandon, the blind fish keeper, check out his channel, the blind fish keeper. Because those green terrors are so small, I think I'll be able to put them in there, and they're not going to make a lot of trouble initially. The Jack Dempsey, he seems to be pretty mellow. I don't think I've ever seen him chase another fish. I see more aggression in the Nicaragua cichlids than I do in the Jack Dempsey's. The Vieja just hangs out, doesn't seem to want any trouble, and certainly the AC Heclies and but the Geos, they kind of go after each other. You know about that. They kind of nip each other's tail. But I'm at this point, I'm thinking the 300 will be a South American. The 90 will have all of the fish in the 90 taken out and put into the 300, and the 90 will become a planted discus tank. So my initial planted community tank, is going to have a couple purposes. It's going to be carried out so I can learn about plants and also discover which plants will do well in the kind of water that we have here in Nashville. So from that planted community tank, certain plants I'm sure are going to prove, whether it's Java fern or swords or anubias, or certain plants are going to be hardier. And by learning, going through that process and trying different plants, I will then know what plants to bring over to the 90 to be part of the planted setup for the discus, because I want to have the plants in there established and in place, and then start to import, start to get the discus. I'm already working. I've already talked to James Largo about that. He has some beautiful discus. He mentioned the source to me, and Watley. Anyway, there's a source that has discus that don't get what's called peppering. Little black spots. You put discus in certain environments, like a black background, they get these little black spots on their body, just part of the coloration. These are discus that do not pepper. They just stay pure yellow, pure red, pure blue. Beautiful discus. So I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. So that's just sort of where my thinking is. I'm also thinking about another species, probably after I got this magazine from my friend over in the UK, and it included a section on Apistos, dwarf cichlids. I just fell in love with these fish. You can see them here. Just amazing fish. So if I start another tank, it's probably going to be possibly an apistogramma, and I'm thinking the water around here might be good for those kinds of fish. And I know that these are very, very colored up, and what you see in magazines, very seldom what you get. But check this. I mean, the only problem with them, of course, they can be very small. I mean, compared to some of these monsters here. But an Apisto tank is on the short list of what I'd like to see happen in 2022. And you know, I forgot one thing on the 2021 on the downside, and this was a bit I guess that you could say it's a major, and that was the loss of Pearl over at Elite Cichlids. We lost what seemed like the bedrock of that family business, Pearl, the mom, and I think we're going to be losing Elite Cichlids as a provider of plants for aquariums, and that was a major setback in 2021. And I think they're still shipping until the end of the year. In particular, a plant that they call the Pearl plant, named after the mom, and but that was a major setback. But at any rate, I also plan in 2022 to attend, and possibly with James Largo, attend Aquashella. At this point, it looks like we'll be going to, I think there's one in February in Orlando. So that would be the Aquashella that James Largo and myself, we would go. I don't think I'll go as a YouTube creator, because that would require me to spend some time at the YouTube booth. Maybe I don't know. But I think I'll just go like I did last year and just sort of walk around and hang out and stop by the booth and say hi. And I mean, it's just such a pleasure to meet Jason of Primetime Aquatics. That was also a highlight of 2021, right? Meeting Jason, Primetime Aquatics. Check out his channel if you don't know it. Of course, John and Lisa of KG Tropicals. And I met Zenzo face to face, finally, Zenzo Tozawa. Him and I go back a bit. And so attending Aquashella was, again, a great opportunity to make connections, meet people. And I'll tell you, the Jason over at Primetime, that guy's the real deal. I mean, he's very unpretentious, just sort of, he's just a good guy, you know. I liked him a lot. And at any rate, met several people there. And I know I'm forgetting people, and I'm sorry if I forgot you. So at any rate, it was quite a year, and I'm looking forward to some great stuff in 2022. Complete this fish room, rip a few things out, get a few things into storage, give me more room, maybe have a rack, build up a rack, and you know, there's just a lot of work to do. But with your support, your encouragement, hey, 2022, it's gonna be a rocking year. And I hope I'll see you at Aquashella if you can make it. And let me go ahead and get into some of your questions and see what you're all about here. And let's see. Now, in the genes, I think we might be talking about the same fish. When you say Starry Night, I'm talking the Paratilapia Polini is the fish that is that the one you're talking about, the black one with the white spots. That's the Paratilapia Polini. That's you might be talking about the same fish, I think. So I'm checking out the chat here. I'm going to go back in the chat and see if I missed anything. Oh, yes, I did. I missed a super chat from Daniel Lopez. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that, my friend. A friend of the channel. And if you have any questions, go ahead and share them with me now. I am looking at the chat as we speak. Donald, Fish Vibes, what's your capacity for expansion? I have, I'd say another... I could get the 300-gallon tank in easily, and maybe a rack next to the 90, and you know, with maybe a few 29s on it, maybe a 55 or a 75. if I don't knock out the cabinets, I have cabinets against the wall. If I knock those out, and if I get the items that are currently in storage bins behind this tank, if I get those out, I'd have a very large room, and maybe could even do a couple rows. But again, it's sort of developing one step at a time, and but I'm currently using about half of the garage right now. It's a big 2-car, 2.5-car garage, very high ceiling, and so I have room. There's two factors. One, of course, is we got to look at electrical. What do I have available in electricity, and also how much do I want to get into, right? I mean, do I want to? How much work do I want? Because one of the things that I've seen happen, and I talked about it in that burnout video, is that people they overreach a bit, and by overreaching, what ends up happening is they start to burn out. It starts to become more work than fun, and I don't want that to happen. So I think if I add that 300 and maybe a 29 planted community, maybe a 40-gallon a pistol tank, I think I'm going to be kind of maxed out, not in space, but maxed out in how much I want to do, that I feel will allow me to continue enjoying doing the work, because I do enjoy doing the work, but be able to do the work, enjoy doing the work, and also have enough time for other aspects of life, including content creation. Because content creation, I mean, I'll get involved in a video and I'll start in the middle of the morning, maybe shoot some footage in the morning, and I'll still be going around 10 p.m. I'll still be editing. And so there has to be content creation time as well. So all of that included, plus time to take trips, right? Drive out to Glass Cages. I'm thinking of taking a trip over to Synergy. Synergy is here in Nashville. They're the ones that make the overflow systems that I have in the back of this tank, the black boxes that the water pours into and then goes down to the sump. It's called Synergy Systems. They make a variety of different systems. I'm thinking of taking a visit to their plant, talk to them about aquariums, get some footage, and then share it with you folks. I also have a video right now in the middle of, it's in the middle of production. And that video is building a tank from scratch. And that's going to be a very interesting video. It's going to include, I mean, we're going right from glass cutting to the assembly of a tank. So I've got this footage. I'm just waiting for Joe and Todd over at Glass Cages. I told them that they could watch the video and I'd wait for them to sign off on it. I mean, there's certain trade secrets, certain ways that companies do things that they may or may not, or maybe something that they want to be the one to reveal, in one of their own YouTube produced videos. I don't know. So I told them, I just said, look, I'll film you putting together a tank, but then I'll give you the footage. So they have the video right now, and when they sign off on it, hopefully today, so I can share that video with you tomorrow. It's just amazing watching these guys, because they don't make necessarily standard size tanks. Every tank they make is customized. So they you want to have a 200-gallon tank. You want the overflow to be on the left side. You want to have a sump. So you talk to them. You tell them what you want. They get all the specs down. You sign off on the design, and then they make the tank. So everything is a custom build. And so I have a very tall saltwater tank with an overflow box in the back, a glass overflow box that is being built on video that I hope I can share with you tomorrow. That'll be exciting. But at any rate, some of the stuff that's going on. Look at that gar. Don't you love the lips on that gar? Looks like an old trumpet player. So, all right, let's see. Any more questions? Let me check out the chat. And Amber Key, the video from Glass Cages was so informative. Never knew about clear glass having less iron. Makes sense now. Well, I'll tell you, not spoiler alert. If you watch the video, the actual making of a video, I mean the making of a tank video that I'm going to be releasing, they're phasing entirely over to what's called Starfire glass, and I looked at it next to low iron glass and next to like regular floated, what they call regular floated glass, like what you'd get in an Aqueon, something like that. And I tell you, it's different. It is different. Starfire glass. They provide glass to a lot of aquarium manufacturers. You may have a Starfire glass aquarium right now, but you'll see in the video, it is beautiful. It is more transparent and than regular glass, and it has a little teeny bit of blue in it. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And they're going to be phasing almost entirely. I think it's going to be entirely to Starfire glass. Cat Sailor, thank you so much, Cat. And Cat Sailor, you reminded me of something that I left off, and with your comment, probably what do you think was the biggest highlight of 2021? What do you think was the biggest highlight of 2021? Now I'm looking at the chat right now, and the first person that guesses what the number one highlight was for 2021, I'm going to send you a wave maker. How does that sound? I've got a real nice wave maker. I'm going to send it to you. First one to guess what I consider the highlight of my 2021. I'm going to send you a wave maker. So go ahead and take your guess in the chat. I'm looking at the chat right now. First one to guess, I'm going to send you a nice wave maker. Here, look at the fish for a second. All right, I'm back. Jerry, you did someone guess that before you? Let me see. Z-Zip. It looks like Z-Zip was first. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like Z-Zip got it. Am I right? Can one of my moderators confirm Z-Zip got it? The grandchild, River Quinn. River Quinn is the highlight of 2021. I tried to get her. She's actually here at the house right now, and I tried to get my wife to bring her down, but she doesn't feel confident coming down the stairs. But I have a very unique, and I think it's very pretty. This is a very nice wave maker in white. Check this thing out. This is from the company Rigugu. And it has a magnetic adjustable attachment, which you just simply loosen and tighten depending on the angle you want. Something to hold the cord in place. Very powerful magnet. And a wave maker from Rigugu. ZZip, please contact me at ben.o.cichlid. Identify yourself as ZZip. I will give you a code that you will then enter underneath the video to verify your identity, and then we will go ahead and send that out to you. Very, very cool. And let's see here. Adam C., a lot of you guessed correctly. I wish I had 20 of those Rigugus to give away, but it looks like ZZip, I think, was first. Jerry, I'm going to pack up the wave maker I'm going to send this week. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Jerry sending me a wave maker. And Amber Key, thank you so much. Thank you for all your support and help. And Cat Sailor, awesome. And Danny, thank you so much for those super chats. Always appreciated, always helpful. And ZZip, be sure to contact me. So any other questions, go ahead and ask them now as we start to wind down. And what do you think about a wave maker in white? Jerry, do you like that white wave maker? What do you think about that white wave maker? My only concern about it is that if you start to get algae, it's going to force you to keep it clean, which I think is a good thing. And if you do have wave makers, every few months, you should actually unplug them and pull them apart and clean them up, because they lose a lot of their gallons per hour once they get a little bit mucked up, and they get mucked up very, very quickly. So part of having a wave maker is of course you have to keep up the maintenance, but you want those gallons per hour, otherwise you lose the you really lose it. I've had to turn down this wave maker. This is a 3,500 gallon per hour wave maker, and it was pushing some of the fish around too much. Those lips, pushing those fish around too much, and so I had to kind of tone it down a little bit. Eric, have you ever thought of a 3D background? Eric, I had a 3D background, and I had it for years. I had it in the 150-gallon tank I had back in California. If you look at some of my older videos, I had an acrylic 150 with a Universal Rocks, what is called a Rocky Thin, about a ½ inch thick. I loved it because it didn't really cut too much into the fish swimming room, and it was a great background. It looked wonderful. Once it got some algae growth, it looked very natural. It started to look better and better. And the only problem I ran into was that you do get a buildup of muck behind the 3D background. So you do have to watch out for that. A couple ways to avoid that would be to pull the 3D background away from the back of the tank a little bit and have a power head back there. And maybe even the input of a filter. Maybe have a hang-on back on one end behind the 3D, and maybe have a small power head on the other side so that the back of the 3D is constantly being circulated and cleaned. I also had a fish get caught back there, a spectabilis, beautiful spectabilis, and he ended up dying back there. So at any rate, so no 3D backgrounds for me right now. I'm just using the Velomax, the vinyl backgrounds. The 300-gallon is going to come with a vinyl wrap already on the back. So I'm not going to have to be cutting and applying Velomax like I had to do with this one. It was a two-person job, and that is a Velomax background on this tank here. So let's see, 210 black background is Velomax. Yes, it is. A very large sheet of Velomax. What do I think about blue dolphin cichlids, Tyler? My experience with them, Tyler, has been that they have been very aggressive. Very aggressive. And with each other and other fish. And so as much as I love their unusual shape, and I've just been reluctant to get them. So That's been I love the blue. They have a beautiful shade of blue. But I've had some aggression issues with them. But I don't know. Maybe I'd get lucky and get a mellow one. I mean, who would think that a Venusis would be mellow? I've got a mellow Venusis. He knows I'm talking about him. He's looking right at me. So this hawk is mellow. So you never know with cichlids. You just never know. You roll the dice, right? So so let's see here. Let me grab some of your comments here. The general consensus on the white wave maker. I guess, I don't know. Maybe you'd hide it behind some plants. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting color. I haven't seen white wave makers before. Usually people like to camouflage their equipment. Certainly against a black background, I love black equipment, like the black heater I have in here and the black wave maker, the black intake of the, and the black sponge on the FX6. It kind of tends to be camouflaged. Irene Dole, I am only allowed a 20-gallon tank at the largest in my apartment. What cichlids can I keep? Well, 20 gallons. Most folks would say not to keep cichlids. Maybe go with some nanofish, or maybe some rams, maybe some little rams, blue rams, golden rams are beautiful fish if you have the right kind of water. And I think they like it a little warm. Maybe some shellies, maybe a few shellies in a 20. Yeah, I don't know. I do a little nano tank, maybe some celestial danios, right? Some of those little celestial danios, maybe some pencil fish, maybe some neons. Get some beautiful little nano fish that don't get too big. Some lemon tetras. Lemon tetras are pretty, right? When they get that lemony color. Some embers, right? You can do a beautiful planted nano tank with 20 gallons. And let's see. Jerry wants to know what software I use in my live streams. I'm currently using OBS. OBS. Open Broadcast Software. It's a free download, and it's been around for a while. It's pretty rock solid, and I haven't had any problems with it. I've tried some other ones, and I've had crashes, and so OBS has turned out to be my go-to. Gus Frazier, any plans to add a Fusco to the 210? Somebody share for Gus the link to my last video. And if you look over my shoulder, Gus, if you look over my shoulder back here, let me get out of the way. Is a there's a Fusco cruising around. There he is, right? Fusco. There's turquoise hap. Akadon, and there's also a Taiwan beef. So to answer your question, yes, I am planning on adding a Fusco. That plan is well underway, and I've wanted a Fusco for some time now, one of my favorite of all cichlids, and I'm hoping this one is mellow. He started off by going after all the other tank mates. I thought, uh-oh, I got a tough guy. And then what happened is the tangerine, or the Taiwan reef, started getting over on him, and now the Taiwan reef is pushing him around. But it's a very small space. They're in quarantine. By the early mid-January, I'll switch them. I'll bring them over what I look for is I like to see that they're active. I like to see that they're attacking their food. I want to see might gross you out, but I want to see healthy poops, right? Thick, healthy poops coming out of them. And I want to see just a really good appetite, like a voracious appetite. When I feed these guys here, I get splashed. It's like a feeding frenzy. It's like a piranha feeding frenzy, which is what you want to see. That's what you want to see with cichlids. Maybe not so much with other fish, but these fish just sort of just are at the top, going insane. And when I see that kind of eating, I know that they're ready. And it might be 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. If I see one of them not eating well, backing off, staying in the corner, I wait, because something might be just under the surface. Maybe I'll even hit the tank with maybe some General Cure, maybe some Paracleanse, something like that. Maybe throw some salt in there. So we'll see. I'd say by mid-Jan, we'll have a Taiwan reef, a Placodon, a turquoise hap, and an F1 Fusco. F1 means that it is offspring of parents that were taken from Lake Malawi. F1 Fusco. And thank you to my friend James over at the Cichlid Shack for providing those beautiful fish. James has provided all of these fish that you see in here are from the channel sponsor, James Largo at the Cichlid Shack. So let me pick up a few more questions here before we end off. Some of you love blue dolphins. I mean, I've just had a very limited experience with them that didn't end well, and so I'm a little bit biased, I guess. Hey, Carrie Pitt, glad you're here, my friend. GP, I get a lot of work. Yeah, it's hilarious. I have to have a towel. Every time I feed them, because I get water like splashed out. It's all over the front of the tank. It's just a mess. But at the same time, I think it's hilarious, and I think it's a good sign. So I kind of enjoy it. And thank you for sharing that Cichlid Shack link. Maybe James is watching right now. He watches while he works on his tanks, like a lot of you will watch while you're doing maintenance. Yeah, Sean, you might be right. I mean, that eye biter, or the Venusas, we'll call him Vinny number 2, or the Livingstone. Yeah, any moment they could flip a switch. So I'm well aware of that. But I'll tell you, one thing I've learned is if a fish is doing more than just protecting a territory, it's one thing to kind of, okay, look, this is my plant, this is my rock, or this is my block. It's one thing for a fish to protect territory. It's another one for it to be chasing fish all around and really singling out a fish for destruction and just continually just battering that fish over and over again. And when I have a fish that does that, the lesson I've learned, another highlight for 2021, remove that fish. Just remove them. Don't even mess around. Just take them out and realize you have somebody that needs to be separated from society. Eric, what does a healthy poop look like? It is, it's not stringy. It's not see-through. It's a little bulky, and it's like depending on the size of the fish, but it's definitely, it's like a poop. It's like it's like a, I don't know. Some of these guys, it's like the size of a Q-tip, right? The middle of a Q-tip. You don't want to see something real stringy and mucusy, which tells you that there might be some parasites that are going, something going wrong inside that fish, which is then going to be transferred to the rest of your aquarium. All right. Thank you, Frankie, for the thumbs up plug. Much appreciated. And also from looks like from Daniel also. Thank you so much. Sean says his tetrastigma was a tank boss for 7 months. Yeah, I'm very happy about it, and I hope it stays that way, but I'm also realistic. I mean, for all we know, the trout, which can get up over 15, this guy here, that guy can be over 15 inches. He could all of a sudden put on some bulk and become the boss. I mean, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, so Thomas has the Nicaragua cichlids, and the Nicaragua cichlids in my 90 are the most aggressive fish in the 90 right now. The Vieja doesn't mess with them. The Geos don't mess with them. They chase each other around. I think I've got a male and a female. I've got one that has just a spot in the middle of the body, and then I've got another one that's very colored up. Apparently the colored up one is the female. So maybe they're going to pair off. I don't know. But they are the most aggressive in that tank. I'm not seeing a lot of fin damage on the other fish, so I don't think that they're too hard on the other fish. Irene, you will not be disappointed if you can get a planted nano tank going. I think they're very pretty. And a lot of things you can do there. All right, Dan, I don't have a Tanganica tank. I have had Tanganicans in the past and mixed them with Malawi and Victoria tanks back in the day when I would just buy a fish because the label said cichlid and throw it into a tank. But I don't have any currently. Beautiful fish. I have heard that Victorians are actually even more aggressive than Malawis. So, with that being said, I think we're on the hour. I want to wish all of you a wonderful holiday season. I hope that 2021 was a great year for you. It had some highs and lows for me, but overall it was a tremendous year. And I hope 2022 is the best year of your life. And let's make it a great year. What do you say? 2022. I will see you on the 1st of the year. I will go ahead and do a live stream on the 1st, and just to start off the year, and we'll see how many of you show up for a live stream on a holiday. I'm not going to do one Christmas. We'll take the day off, a good day just to spend entirely with family, and we have a lot to be grateful for this year. It's been a crazy year, I know, with all the COVID stuff, and hopefully we'll come out of it in 2022. And thank you, everybody, for the support. You are awesome. Love you guys and gals. And thank you to my moderators. Thank you to my channel sponsor. All right. Have a great weekend, folks. And I will see you on the 1st. And watch for tomorrow's video.